Hello everybody, welcome back to the YouTube channel, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the Jaguars wide receiver room and what it could look like going into 2021. So to jump right into this, let's list the Jaguars wide receivers currently. The list goes as DJ Chark, Keelan Cole, Chris Conley, Terry Godwin, Colin Johnson, Trey Quinn, and Laviska Shenault, with Westbrook on IR. So to start right at the top of the list, DJ Chark, well, he's the wide receiver one of the Jaguars. He's looking to get paid this next offseason. He's in the final year of his rookie deal. Jaguars should pay him. It's straightforward. He's been the most consistent wide receiver, and it's honestly not even close. He's had inadequate quarterback play for essentially his whole career so far. And with a young quarterback coming in, he's definitely a building block of this offense, and he's got to be re-signed. There's no doubt about it. Going on to the next step, it's Keelan Cole. Cole could be a very good guy to keep. He is somewhat of a veteran and a very mature wide receiver. He is age 27, so he's in the prime right now. I could see him getting overpaid, however, and I don't think the Jaguars should overpay, as they have a lot of wide receivers behind him who are on rookie contracts for the next 3 years, essentially. And it just doesn't make too much sense to me to get low-end wide receiver 2 production that Cole gives for, let's say, 8 to 10 million a year. I love Cole. I would love to keep him for the culture that he brings and the maturity that he brings and the stability ultimately he brings to our wide receiver room. But this is not Madden. You have to watch where you put your money. And the Jaguars have a lot of cap space, yes, but we do not want to make the same mistakes that we made in 2017, which was throw a lot of money at free agents and just ultimately wasting all the cap space we had. I'd like to see us branch out and kind of use our cap space wisely and use it some this offseason, some next offseason, and after that, and keep that nice rolling for the future. Jumping on to the next guy is Chris Conley. I like Conley, but I don't see him having much of a role on this team going forward. I think he's simply getting beat out by the younger guys, as we saw towards the end of the year. He had a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of drops, which is something you can't have out of one of your considered veteran wide receivers. He's supposed to be the guy to hold this crew down, and honestly, he was not doing that, which leads me to believe he probably won't get re-signed. And the next guy is Terry Godwin. Godwin is interesting for me. He hasn't had too much of a role for the Jaguars, but he does still have some level of potential. He does seem like he could be a nice shifty wide receiver to have as depth at worst, and I do believe the Jaguars could use him and utilize him a little bit more than they currently do. We did see in the final game of the year, he actually showed a couple flashes with a couple good catches, but he also showed why he's not a wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 with a couple of inconsistencies on that game. So ultimately, I'd like to keep him as a depth guy, but I don't really think there's much there, honestly. I think he's maybe at best a wide receiver 3 someday. So to move on to the next guy is Colin Johnson. Johnson was a rookie last year, and he's very intriguing to me. He's 6'6", which is one of the tallest wide receivers in the league. And honestly, we saw that this year with the size mismatch that he truly brings to the field. It was honestly astounding to see how much larger he is, truthfully. I mean, it's such a mismatch that it makes you think that he could realistically be our wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 of the future. I'd say more of wide receiver 3 because I don't know if he has the consistency to be a wide receiver 2 or even wide receiver 1. I think he's better as a guy to come in, get like about maybe 40 to 50% of the snaps a game, go catch a jump ball here and there, and ultimately be like a big target in the red zone. I like him in that role because I don't know if he can sustain a 3-down type role as a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2. I actually prefer him as a almost weapon for the red zone mainly. And to jump onto the next guy is Trey Quinn. I mean, we saw him returning a couple punts and kicks. I don't really think he has any true value in this wide receiver room, honestly. No offense to him, but I really don't know if there's anything there for us-wise. I don't think he's going to get any playing time next year, even if he's still on the roster. I really can't see it. So we'll just move on to the next guy, who's Laviska Shenault. Shenault is one of my favorite wide receivers on this team and maybe even in the league for the way he plays. He plays football as such a unique person. The way he plays football is out of this world to me. he plays wide receiver almost like a running back after he gets the ball in his hands. He's not afraid to take a hit. He's not afraid to make a contested catch. He will run you over. It's honestly super fun to watch. And I cannot wait to see what he grows into, because I really think that Shenault has legitimate wide receiver 2 or even wide receiver 1 potential. And I think he could get 1,000 yards next year, if not in his year 3. And I'm super excited to see what he can grow into. And that's definitely one of the guys to watch in this room for me. Then on to the last guy is D.D. Westbrook. I like Westbrook a lot, but I really don't know if the Jaguars are going to re-sign him. He might be one of those guys who we lose to free agency, unfortunately, because he just doesn't have a true role. I mean, he had a very limited role before his season-ending injury, and truthfully, I like Westbrook a lot. I think he has legitimate wide receiver potential, but I don't think the Jaguars believe that, or at least this current staff doesn't, which makes me believe that he probably won't get re-signed, unfortunately. So to move on to who we could possibly go after, a big name would be Allen Robinson, who I know everybody's going to get excited about. He liked a tweet, which does show that maybe he is open, after all, to coming back to Jacksonville. But that still doesn't solve the part of it for me where he's going to want wide receiver 1 money just as much as DJ Chark is. And now maybe from a talent standpoint, he is better than DJ Chark right now. But Robinson's also, I believe, 4 years older than Chark right now. And say we give Robinson a 4-year, $65 million contract instead of giving Chark a 5-year, $80 million contract, for example. I just don't know if I would give the big fat contract to somebody who's aging to go along with my 21-year-old quarterback. I think Chark is the much better guy. He knows our system for the last couple of years. He's been our guy for the last couple of years. He has one of the highest ceilings in possibly the entire league as a wide receiver, in my opinion. I mean, the guy is just good at football. That's the way to put it. And I think once you give him a quarterback of truly high standards, he could emerge as a top 10 or top 15 wide receiver in this league. And I really genuinely believe that. So could we see somebody like Allen Robinson, Kenny Golladay, one of these top guys come to Jacksonville? Yes. But do I personally agree with that? It's going to be interesting to find out. It all depends on how the money works, truthfully. If they could get DJ Chark and Allen Robinson to both combined make about 25 to 28 million a year, then I'd be more on board with it. But I think combined, the two of them will probably push more in like the low to mid 30s a year, which is just too much money and 2 wide receivers for me. When you have guys like Colin Johnson, who's on a rookie contract, Laviska Shenault, who's on a rookie contract. I mean, these guys can produce, and they're on contracts that are fractions of the contracts that we're about to hand out. It's just, from a money standpoint, the moves just don't make sense to me. Now, don't get me wrong, it is super exciting to think about an offense with Allen Robinson, DJ Chark, Trevor Lawrence, James Robinson, Laviska Shenault, Colin Johnson, all these guys. It's super cool to think about, but being realistic, it would lead us in a direction that is what we did in 2017, where we just threw money at everybody, and just in 2 years, the team basically imploded. I just don't want to see that repeat. Hopefully the Jaguars do it right this time around. And without further ado, I'm going to wrap up this video. So thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. And as always, peace out, Duval.